Hey guys, so yesterday was International Women's Day and it was quite an interesting one. It's an amazing day to celebrate all the women that have been doing amazing stuff. And it had a nice theme, digital innovation for all. So they're telling everybody to embrace equity in the digital space and innovation space. We need more women in the tech space. And of course, this podcast has 3 men. And I apologize in advance, but it's for good reason. The women are behind the scenes making all this stuff works. So normally, if you would agree with me, the case is usually reversed. The women are the ones talking, all of that, then the men are the ones doing stuff behind the scenes. But this time around, we have our own Ogheneruemu and Oneyibo behind the scenes running those amazing stuff. And they're saying hi. You guys can say hi if you want to. Louder, please. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, the International Women's Day has a very, very rich history, ties to different. So it cuts across different societies. So when you see people fight on the basis of race, tribe, and all of that, it makes you wonder. Like most of the issues we face, they don't care about your race, they don't care about your tribe. I mean, 2 countries that they have been very, very big rivals for quite a long time: Russia and the United States. The origins of the International Women's Day actually traces back to these 2 countries. There's one in the US. Then in 1800s, there was a protest about anti-slavery movement, but somehow they were preventing women from talking at these conventions, and it led to a revolution. Then in Russia, March 8th, 1917, it was women that actually brought this spark to the Russian Revolution of 1917. So Russia, the communist country of then, and United States with USSR Russia. I'm not going to kid myself into trying to remember what those acronyms stands for. Then United States too. Then there are other events around the world. There's the garment workers strike, where women were trying to clamor for more equitable and reasonable employment treatment. So so many things to talk about, and a very, very rich history. If you've not gone to a grasp of all of this, then you need to subscribe to the Workaholic newsletter. It's being handled by Oluwanifemi Kolawole. She's a muse. That's what I can say. And lots of information about International Women's Day and how it relates to work. So if you're a woman out there and you work, you're a working mother, you're working adult and all of that, you should be following the Workaholic because it contains lots and lots of amazing stuff. So, what are we talking about today?
A lot.
Chingozere Bolu are with me today in the podcast.
Oh, yes.
We tried to get women on the podcast, but it didn't work out.
It needs to be said.
Yeah, it needed to be said. But we celebrate you, all right?
Mention us.
Okay. So, what are we taking first? Flutterwave, Kenya, CBN. Is anything blockchain today?
Nah, we are resting.
You're resting. You guys, you lied to us.
We are still resting.
Okay, so but first of all, we heard that Flutterwave got hacked.
Yep.
Sometime in February, right?
Yes.
And hackers made away with
2.9 actually.
$2.9 billion. Naira. Okay, so can you give us a gist very, very briefly? Because I want to actually get more behind the scenes stuff that has been going on since then.
Yeah, so the gist is just that, we saw a letter written by Flutterwave's lawyer to the police asking them to get a court order to freeze some accounts because their Flutterwave accounts were hacked and 2.9 million naira left those accounts, and they need to freeze the beneficiaries of the destination of that money. So it happened. The letter was sent around February 13, and the letter said it happened 2 weeks ago, which means the hack happened around February 5th, 6th, thereabouts. And there were a lot of people accounts that were frozen, around 107 accounts, and not just those 107 accounts. 107 accounts those 107 accounts sent money to other accounts, so they will freeze those accounts, freeze the people they sent to, the people those ones sent to. So
up to how many?
like up to like five
Fifth
beneficiaries.
generation.
Exactly.
like biblical times where
Exactly.
the curse will follow you to the fifth, the father and his son and his son's son and son's son.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
so
fine.
they froze all those accounts, and we actually saw people coming online saying, "Oh, my accounts have been frozen," corroborating the story that this thing actually happened. And
Flutterwave came and said,
yes,
there was no
Flutterwave, they released a statement saying there was no hack. They were only doing routine checks, and then they discovered that some people had not activated some security features, and they already handled the whole thing before anything happened. But I mean, obviously, from the amount of people that were saying their accounts were actually frozen, it means something actually happened. And we actually spoke to someone who, uses Flutterwave for his business, and told us that his clients' accounts
It's frozen.
wasn't even frozen. His clients' accounts were hacked, and some monies were stolen from that account. He showed us screenshots of, those accounts leaving those monies leaving Flutterwave, which proves that there was actually an hack. Interestingly, if you think maybe Flutterwave would not come out and say there was an hack, but they would tell people using the platform that, oh, this is the reason why money left your account, because we got hacked. But they didn't say anything. They only told them, oh, change your API key, generate a new API key. Because so I'm leaning towards the fact, and most people are leaning towards the fact that it was done via API. How exactly? Not sure yet. I think there are a lot of technical details there, but the fact that Flutterwave is saying change your API key, and the fact that the person we spoke to said that he didn't see anyone go into the dashboard to authorize those things, right? When you ask someone, right, maybe I get your password, I pretend to be you, I go to your bank app, I know your PIN, I send money out. That's one thing. But nobody opened your bank app, nobody entered your bank app. Money was just going. It means it wasn't. It had to be something. It was done remotely in a way.
Yeah.
So the person is leaning towards it was done with API. But I think since that story came out, we've been uncovering a couple of things.
Okay.
Actually, like really interesting things, like possible hackers of Flutterwave, right? And I need to mention that nothing is absolutely certain yet, but based on the dots we are connecting, something interesting is really going on.
Okay, so one of Flutterwave's biggest investors, Mr. Osareti Asemota, Victor Osareti Asemota, claimed that no hack happened, and the lawyer in the screenshots being shared around
was not
Flutterwave's lawyer. So how are you thinking about that?
So I think it's pretty obvious, right? Because why would a letter signed by the court, right? Because after the letter was sent, the police wrote to the court saying that they supported Flutterwave's motion to freeze those accounts. Those were actual court documents.
So it's actually conceivable that companies could have lawyers on their retainer, but decide to use a different lawyer for a particular case. Probably it's too sensitive to give it to their main lawyer. Maybe to bring too much attention to investors and all of that. So they give it to someone else. What do you guys think?
I think it's a possibility, but I think the important thing to take away from here is this thing actually happened, which is obvious. It's obvious with the fact that people are saying, because people said their banks contacted them and said Flutterwave said we should freeze your account. So why is Flutterwave freezing my account? I have no business. A lot of these people have no business with Flutterwave. They've never used Flutterwave. So why is Flutterwave freezing my account?
You are quiet. You didn't freeze your account.
No, they did not.
So it's obvious that something definitely happened. If I have no business with you and you got a court order, that my account should be frozen. It means you probably followed the trail of money. Maybe someone stole money from your account and you followed it to my account. If you can prove that to the court, they will give you, the authorization to get my accounts frozen so that the money does not leave. Right.
Okay.
So what we found so far is who exactly, did this hack. And, we got a screenshot of someone who uses Flutterwave, and then he showed us, the account, his client's account on Flutterwave, and there was a particular name. I don't want to mention the name for now, but there's a particular name that money went to. So there was the first transfer of around a little over 4 million naira that went. It was a successful transfer. There's another one of around 4 million naira, also successful. The person tried. You will notice that the person keeps trying. He's not sure, probably not sure how much is there, but the person keeps trying a certain amount, tries lower again, but then he tried twice again, lower and lower, and he didn't go again. So the account was emptied, right? So the name where the account was going actually came forward on Twitter and said, it wasn't an illegal transaction. It was a legal transaction, and they should allow...
Why are you lowering your voice?
And they should allow wherever the money has gone to, whoever he has sent the money to be able to access
that
the money. And then the person who got hacked said, "You're telling me money left my account to this person's account that I did not authorize, my money that I did not authorize, and you're telling me it's illegal."
So maybe this story would help if you give these people names.
Okay, so let's say
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe, that sounds familiar. Why did you say? Okay,
Sorry,
let's use John Doe.
John Doe and Jane Doe. Okay.
Yeah, John Doe and Jane Doe. Okay, so John Doe was where this particular Flutterwave client, where he saw his money going to.
John Doe is the Flutterwave client.
No, John Doe. Okay, the Flutterwave client. Let's call him Tayo.
Musk. Okay, Tayo.
Tayo.
Okay.
Tayo saw his money going into John Doe's account.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone came to Twitter. Let's call that one Sarah. Sarah came to Twitter saying, please, I sent some money to John Doe. Please, it's not an illegal transaction. It's actually a legal transaction. I think they mentioned the amount. He said, I sent a total of 220 million naira to John Doe. Please, it's a legal transaction. Let John Doe be able to access this money. And then, what did I call the Flutterwave client?
John Doe.
Tayo.
Yeah. Tayo. So Tayo says, wait, you sent money to John Doe. I saw money leaving my account to John Doe's account.
Of that same amount?
Yeah. No. Not of that same amount.
Okay.
But the fact that money left my account to John Doe's account without my knowledge. Okay. And you are saying you legally transferred money to John Doe, which means you know John Doe.
Okay.
Where my money went to.
So,
which means you are probably the one that came to my account to send money to John Doe.
So John Doe is the money laundering funnel. Is that it?
That is
let's give it a belt.
John Doe is probably the money laundering funnel. No.
Not okay. Let's not.
Sarah is probably the one laundering the money.
Yes, but the funnel now. You don't go like when you are pouring fuel, you don't pour it directly.
Yeah.
You use a funnel.
Yeah, some people do.
So it's
waste the fuel now.
It's a lot of stuff, and then some companies were mentioned. For now, also I don't want to mention those companies, not to so that it won't affect some of the investigations we are running. I don't know which other outlets or police are also running investigations, so it doesn't affect these things. But something definitely happened, and I think it will be best for Flutterwave to find a way to let people know exactly what's wrong. Maybe not reveal so much that it now prevents them from getting back these monies, right? Because something obviously went down. Obviously.
Okay. So I'm thinking, this is a lot to take in. So in summary, if you've been following this, Tayo lost his money and the money was sent to John Doe. Sarah came online and said, please, I sent money to John Doe and freeze his account too. the entire is saying, Sarah, okay, no problem. So, but the main issue now is the way Flutterwave has handled this, and I see a lot of Nigerian startups handle this, and it's easy for me to come and say they could have handled the communication better, especially for the other not so positive stories that have come out about them. And it's not just them, many Nigerian startups.
Yeah.
It's either there's denial or no comment or
gaslighting.
Yeah, gaslighting. But from the outside, it's easy to say all this. So I'm actually trying to think about it from Flutterwave's perspective. My God. So when the news broke, there were lots of comments, right? Oh, fintech is the ghetto, right? And all of that. But the overwhelming comments from people I could see on Twitter was, these people, how can you be a financial unicorn and you don't handle your security well?
I mean, everybody gets hacked.
Everybody gets
Even
hacked.
Microsoft gets hacked.
Microsoft, Facebook, they've all gotten security breaches at one point or the other.
Yeah.
And even big American banks. I mean, someone scammed the great JP Morgan.
Why not?
Please.
Say why not? So, but
There's nobody too big to be scammed.
That's just it.
nobody too big to be hacked. And there's, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but your firewall is only as good as your employees and the humans that you're working with. You can have the best security, you can have the best firewalls, but as long as humans are the ones operating that thing, vulnerability can come in anywhere. The person can just leave his phone lying somewhere carelessly, and people can access. You should contact Akintunde Sultan to give you like
exactly
a refresher on cybersecurity. But I think what happens is most companies focus so much on beefing their security infrastructure technically, but
They don't educate
their employees, right? They feel like, the regular content marketer does not have anything, but you don't know what
at all
might happen, right? You don't know what emails might be getting to people's hands. So I think that's a key takeaway. And I mean, better communications from startups.
Very important.
But to be fair, I am pausing and saying, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes from Flutterwave perspective. Nigeria, Africa is a very unforgiving place.
True.
When people no longer trust you. You can...
we're very low trust society.
Does that excuse some of the disastrous communication we've seen? So people don't...
People do it out of fear. They do it out of fear.
I also think that they do it... I don't know. But it comes off as you being dishonest, man. That's the way it comes off for me. So you are a business and there's an operational risk that comes with operating in that space, and for some reason that risk happens, or that danger actually happens to you, and your first response is to either attack the people. Sometimes you may not even do it through your official handles, but you try to discredit the sources of these stories that were broken. It doesn't look like something a very, very honest person does. And like you mentioned, in the last 1 year, we've seen startups that had on several news about them come out. And usually the first thing is to go on the defensive. So I get the part where you say something that isn't so good about me, and then I go on the defensive. But for Christ's sake, you are a business. You're not just a random person on the street. You're a business. And when this thing happens, your first... I don't know. I'm not a PR person. I'm not a crisis consultant or anything like that. But I really think a lot of startups don't understand what crisis communication entails. Because why is your first response always defensive? Every single time we see this happen, something bad happens and you're going on the defensive to fight people. Why is that your response every single time? And I may be sounding like a broken record, but Flutterwave, in their own case, every single time it has always been the brand storyteller making these statements. I don't know whether you're trained in crisis communication, or I don't know if you have experience of on doing that, but it doesn't make any sense that your brand storyteller is a person doing crisis communication, except the person is qualified to do that, right? Flutterwave has a PR team that works for them, and this is probably where you just chill and say, oh, let my PR team handle this.
Maybe PR team just gave her the copy and she posted it.
If the PR team was the one that has always come up with their responses, then maybe they should be looking for a new PR team.
Oh my God! All right, let's start. let's go to Kenya. Let's go to Kenya. Right, you said they're investigating online food delivery practices.
Yeah.
Is there something special about this that is worth noting?
Well, special. I don't know.
Is it a case of stopping food delivery drivers from tasting the chicken on the way to giving you the food?
No, not really. So last year, the Consumer Protection Council in the US started investigating the actions or activities of buy now pay later startups, because these guys are like becoming more prominent in the country, and they needed to understand. So it was previously unregulated, and they just needed to understand, okay, what are you guys doing here? How can we start regulating you? So they did that, I think, for a few months, and then they came up with some like guidelines that they are hoping to use for regulation. So that's similar to what they're doing in Kenya. So online grocery delivery or food delivery startups they are like a growing category of startups, especially in Kenya. And the idea is that they are looking into their activities. What are you doing? How do you run this business? How do you deliver your services to people? Are there some anti-competitive practices that you engage in that maybe stifles the growth or the entrance of new players? So that's what they are looking at. And then they're also looking at ways to protect the consumer. So we this is an unregulated space in Kenya, and they just want to understand how do you work and how we can create guidelines for you. So it's probably like when wealth management startups in Nigeria started, and then the SEC was like, you guys need to be regulated, but you don't really know what you're doing right now. So maybe go ahead and we'll come back later. And yeah, so that's basically what they're doing. It's not anything that should make anybody scared. They are just trying to understand the space and then come up with guidelines. So I think it's interesting and it's a good development, rather than, oh, yeah, delivering food to people, Abi, or yeah, come, let's slap you with regulations. They're first of all going to understand them before regulating.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of sounds like the approach that the CBN took with open banking in Nigeria, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more than 6 years now. We've been talking about open banking.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Is it 6 years? 2017, I think that was when they started serious conversations.
It's almost 6 years now.
Yeah, it should be about that.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't need to be accurate, but
yeah. But so far so good. The CBN has been trying to understand the whole concept of open banking. So, but for open banking, what would you say open banking is? So,
okay.
Yeah, the news is open banking has been approved in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
So it has been a long time coming. An association of really seasoned fintech experts. We have Adeji Olowe, Yvonne Tugu, and Okpe Adioye as key members of open banking Nigeria. Okpe Adioye is CEO of OnePipe, CEO and COO of OnePipe. Two of them also involved. Then we have players like Mono also kind of needing to be active in the space. So, but for the uninitiated, what does open banking actually mean, and what does it do for me?
Okay, so open banking is a system where financial institutions give third-party access to customer data. So to simplify it a bit, so I am Access Bank and I create an API. Okay, so this is done through APIs. I am Access Bank and I create an API. So with this API, I can share it to ShopRite, and ShopRite doesn't need to build out a full financial services suite. So when I give access to ShopRite, give access to my API, now they can access customers' financial data. Of course, this must be done with the customer's consent. So they look at my customer data, and now they can offer my customer services that they need. So for example, right now, like you mentioned, we just have like a few players in Nigeria, but it's something that's catching on all over the world. And one of the benefits that a lot of people tout is it improves the quality of service that a person gets. So for example, lending startups have been playing around in the Nigerian space. Then GT Bank came. I think they have one of the lowest lending rates right now. And in order for you to compete with them, you just have to either reduce your lending rate, your interest rates or something, and just find another way. So yeah, having your API open means that I can see your customer data if the person allows that, and then I can now come up with services. So banks sit on a lot of data. I mean, if you're going to open an account, you give them your BVN, you give them another means of identification, maybe your voter's card, you give them employment information, give them your NEPA bill. I know where you live, I know how much you earn. Like the only thing they probably don't ask you for is your DNA or your DNA information, but you give them a lot of data, and they can come up with a lot of services that they can offer you. They've not done that. For some people say that is because they are too lazy. I don't know about that, but they've not always done that. And with fintech startups, with other institutions that are trying to come up with financial services products, open banking helps them to offer all these services.
So off the top of my head, I'm thinking, okay, what are those kind of services that could be offered? So lending and buy now, pay later is the obvious one. You mentioned ShopRite. ShopRite can decide that, oh, okay, this guy is credit worthy. You can give this guy goods on credit. Maybe transfer is not going. Let him go with the items. He will come and pay, right? That kind of thing. That's insurance too.
So you've seen the likes of ETAP, PayU that are doing something like pay as you go insurance. So now I can look at the person and I know, oh, this guy is not an insurance risk. He has, so for example, ETAP and PayU, ETAP in particular wants to give you insurance based on your let's say your risk profile. So maybe I'm a very rough driver and you are not, so you get better insurance rates. Now, what if they know now by looking at your financial information that, oh, you're very prudent, a prudent individual. You don't you don't get your 200k salary today and 2 days later
in the mud.
You have 2 days later you have like 20,000 naira remaining in your account. I mean, that's something that happens. That's what happens to a lot of individuals. Now, if I have that kind of data, I can say, okay, this guy is prudent. He's less likely to run away with my money. If he handles his finances this way, then what insurance products can I offer him? What savings products, what investment products can I create for this class of of my customers? So, and one of the things is personalized services. So I can look at you. You are a reckless spender. Yes, you may be a risk, but is there a way I can get? I mean, think of what Carrywise could have done. They have Safe Lock, and it's for everybody, whether you are prudent or not. But what if, for the most careless of us, Carrywise said, "Oh, you need a second person before you can unlock money that you've put into this account," because right now Carrywise does not. So, for example,
like a cosign.
Yeah, you need a cosigner now for you to get.
Well,
I mean,
that.
of course, you may not want that, but maybe it won't be an individual. Maybe they can tell you, oh, before you do this, you need to do this, you need to do that, just so that we can unlock the money you save. So it helps people to get personalized financial services. Some people doubt the financial inclusion aspect, but I am not really convinced.
Because a lot of things usually tie into financial inclusions that don't. But maybe people that already have bank accounts can now have more access to loans. Have more access to
insurance. That's
the
true.
rate of financial inclusion could increase.
And somewhere I would be. It's something I don't know.
You might not start it, but it can expand.
Can expand those who are already in the financial system. So that's
health insurance is something I'm looking at. So
waving hand for
waving hand for us.
These people give us 3 minutes. We do buy now, pay later for consumer electronics.
Okay.
And I think I was speaking to someone once, and she was like, she's particularly looking at how you could do that in the health space.
Oh.
Especially in Nigeria, where a lot of people have to pay out of pocket. Yeah. Can you get
straight now, pay later,
something like that? Or is there a way we can reimagine health insurance? I mean, there's a lot that could do, but it's early days and it will take some time before the benefits of open banking come.
I'm not so psyched about open banking, but we don't have time, so
they're not so psyched about it. No, let us know why. They will be fine. They will be fine.
Okay. So I'm wondering, because we already have some of these people. I know Emmanuel say it's not open banking. We already have Mono. We already have all of them, right? What will now change? It's just that they'll continue working without like maybe any regulatory
It's cheaper for them. So imagine you having to go to like all the banks and then just for one person. But now with just one API, for example, you can get all of. So there's something that the CBN is going to do.
So just going to have one single API instead of you getting Access Bank API.
So there will be an open banking registry that like has all these people with their information and all of that. But what did change? Competition.
So I'm thinking, how does it affect Mono and One Pipe, especially Mono? So okay, let's take this for instance, right? One of my friends is trying to build a personal finance management app, and he uses Mono to draw financial data. So he wants to be able to look at your financial history and help you create budgets. When the debit is coming directly into your account, right? Once the debit comes into your account, you now start categorizing them and all of that. But to be able to pull this financial data, it's a lot of API requests. Yeah. Now, API requests for you, API requests for him, API requests for me. Multiply that by how many number of users the person wants to do. It's a lot of money. With open banking, this could get easier. Maybe he doesn't need Mono.
Possibly.
Maybe.
No, I think there would always be. So I was looking at a few open banking startups in the US today. So they are not like financial institutions per se. Because now imagine so here's the thing, it's not just financial institutions that can play in the open banking ecosystem.
Yeah.
Everybody can. So I mentioned ShopRite, and people usually talk about what's this? Starbucks. So Starbucks, the gift card. And they make a whole lot of money from that. So if if Starbucks was in Nigeria, Starbucks can apply. So that gift card makes them I can't remember how much they said it makes. I think about $3 billion annually, which is huge. Because they're telling you, take this gift card and you come back later. So imagine ShopRite has a gift card program, and now they can see, like they are collecting financial information on you. It's not on the same level as a bank, but it's a lot of financial information. Or let's look at MTN, for example. MTN, they're not necessarily collecting financial data, but they are the means through we get debit alerts, credit alerts, and all of that. So that's kind of financial information that they could just make available, and then people look at it. Now, that competition is like, for me, it's probably the biggest benefit I see. Because now banks know that you are providing this API and people can see your customer. And if I can see what your customer does with his money, I can provide him better services. If I provide him better services, it's now you having to respond to my better services. Do I make a counter offer? So now you already have the relationship with your customer.
Yeah, but based on all your responses now, you're not answering if I still need Mono.
Yeah, you still need Mono.
For what?
Mono would play for who they will play for. It may not be everybody that uses Mono.
A specific niche of maybe financial fintech guys.
Yeah.
Might now be their specific niche. But it's not like an open ground for everybody to come and play.
Yeah. So for example, right now Mono connects to banks, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but they are not. I don't think they are. I don't think the other people who could possibly play are already. But I don't think they have APIs. So they maybe ShopRite and the likes. I don't think they have APIs. So Mono can maybe long term decide, oh, let's just focus on financial institutions, and maybe someone else decides, oh, let's do everybody. So you still need things like that.
Makes sense. So yeah, this is a whole lot of gist, and we'll try to cut them up into small, digestible bits for you to really digest. But of course, we can find everything in one place for those weirdos that watch longer. But yeah, it's been an interesting one. And if you want to see more dissections of the fintech space and all the dimensions and how everything affects you, please subscribe to the Fintech Today newsletter, hosted by Chingozim here. So you can see I think he knows what he's doing basically. Yeah. So FinTech Today newsletter, and of course, don't forget our flagship newsletter, Techpoint Digest. A lot of guys raised money this week. A lot of things happened this week. Ocean State crash right-of-way charges. Starlink, we finally got the answer that rain disrupts them. We finally got our answer. Yes. So
sad.
It's crashed to 20 MB per second. So many things. You can find them on Techpoint Digest. Stories that you missed on Techpoint, stories that you missed on the podcast. You can always find them on Techpoint Digest. So, yeah, I think, did I miss anything? Yes. Oh, God. My God. Lagos Startup Expo. Yes. Holding on May 20th, 2023 at Landmark Event Center. It's going to be the biggest, baddest event you've ever seen.
Yeah. And it's also an opportunity for you to like exhibit what you do as a startup.
Yeah.
Because everybody will be there.
Good. So if you're a startup building anything in Lagos, Ibadan, Ondo, anywhere in Nigeria, south, east, southwest, please reach out to us. We're going to be featuring a lot more startups in the coming weeks than we've been doing before. In the lead up to Lagos Startup Expo, we need to see the awesome stuff that you guys are building, because that's actually the core of what we are at Techpoint: startups, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So for those who are watching this on YouTube and those who are listening to this on where?
If you're listening to us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, I mean, you can actually find us on these podcast channels: Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Hyatt Radio, and anywhere else you get your podcast.
All right, wrong cue, but you corrected yourself. Thank you very much, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.